This is part 3 in this series of narrated videos to accompany my GCSE Science Sprint series of shorts. If you haven't found the shorts, you can find them on YouTube Shorts or TikTok, but in these longer form videos, I'm just talking through the same exam questions, but in a bit more detail. Here we've got a tricky question from the energy topic in GCSE Physics or GCSE Combined Science. And this is an extended response question. So often when we think of these extended response 4 to 6 markers, we're thinking of something that kind of resembles an essay. But actually in physics, you are likely to encounter questions where they ask you to use not just one, but 2 of the different formulae that you've been asked to memorise. So even in 2023, where we now know you're going to have that equation sheet, you could still have quite a complicated question like this where you're having to pick out an equation to use where not all the parts of that equation are actually listed in the question. In this question, we're also assessing one of your math skills, so math skill 3B, which is about can you change the subject of an equation. So we're told that we have a roller coaster with a mass of 700 kilograms travelling at 14 meters per second. So immediately we're thinking, right, kinetic energy here because we've got a mass and we've got a velocity or a speed. And then we're asked what the maximum height it can reach is, and that's not a part of the kinetic energy equation, and this might be where some doubt starts to creep in for you. So let's start at the very beginning. Our equation to work out kinetic energy is half mv squared, half multiplied by the mass multiplied by this 14 meters per second squared. And so if we plug in those numbers like that, we're also doing some substitution here, and we get an answer of 68,600 joules. So that's how much energy my roller coaster has as it's moving 14 meters per second. Now, I know that in a closed system, energy is conserved, and what that means is it can't be created, it can't be destroyed, it can only be transferred between different stores. So therefore, the amount of gravitational potential energy that this roller coaster can have at the very, very top of its climb must be 68,600 joules. Now you'll note that in the question they've said perfect transfer, no friction. This is like a hypothetical universe because actually we know that some of that energy would be lost because of friction and the tracks heating up and things. But here we're just going to pretend that that didn't happen and that all of the kinetic energy was turned into gravitational potential energy. So I can now pull out my equation for gravitational potential energy, which is on the equation sheet as mass multiplied by gravitational field strength multiplied by height, and then I can rearrange that equation to make height the subject, because that's what they're asking me to work out. How high can it get? So potential energy divided by the mass multiplied by gravitational field strength. Now, if you're doing GCSE Combined Science, you're not actually supposed to know the value for the strength of gravity on Earth. If you're doing GCSE Physics, then you should know that it's 9.8. So for a Combined Science question, they would have told you that in the question. So we know that height is going to be that 68,600 joules that we already worked out, divided by 700 multiplied by 9.8, and that gives you a final height of 10 meters. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you'll be back next week for the next biology short in this series. If you found this video useful, then don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share, because all of those help me to grow the channel. And I'll be back soon with some more GCSE Science.